I don't know what's gotten into me lately, but the last 6-8 months I've done a heck of a lot of home maintenance. Usually not my strong point. I like new projects. So I picked all these big stones up and raised them and laid them again because they were sinking down. I replaced that little deck, that little landing. I took this door off and racked it straight so it would shut. I relaid all these bricks along this edge because the roots from the cypress trees had heaved them up. That was a back-breaking project, and now I see a new lump developed right here. So I'm gonna have to pull that up, chop the root out, put it back. I just put new operators on our gates that have been without operators for a long time, and we painted the gates, fresh coat of paint. I'm getting ready to pull up this concrete in this square and replace it. Debbie and I put a fresh coat of paint on this gate, and I renovated this door, which was a video. Now it's in good shape. I replaced these steps going up to my attic up here. They had gotten really rotten, even though I built them with treated. Just stays so damp back here. And now I'm gonna pull this door down and fix it. You can see it sagged about 1 inch on this side. I don't even think this is an exterior door from the way it's made. There's just not much to keep it from sagging. So I'm gonna take it out and clean it up. Okay, I think this is a very old door. The bottom rail is mortised all the way through the stile, and there's a wedge, and the wedge is loose. I had it out a second ago just with my fingers. The same on this side. There's a wedge. So I think I'm gonna just be able to take this door completely apart without breaking anything. And here's the top mortise all the way through. There's a wedge, and there's a wedge. So put a teeny tiny little screw in there. Should be able to pull them out and knock this frame apart. This panel is beveled on this side, but the other side's flush. So I don't know what side's really supposed to be out. But the lock set is here, so this probably was inside, the inside face. I don't know. It's interesting. I'll start trying to get this thing apart. One more to go, and it is little bitty. Here I am scraping back the paint a little bit. I'm looking for the pegs. It is wedged and pegged with wooden pegs. So if I can find them, I can knock them out. Some of them wouldn't knock out, and I drilled them out. So what is Swedish Death Maintaining? I kind of made that up. However, Swedish Death Cleaning is a real thing. And my wife has been doing that because she's had a little cancer operation on her nose. Nothing too serious, hopefully. But she's been kind of immobile. So she's been in the house going through closets and drawers and trying to decide what we need, what we don't need, where does it need to go, every item in the house. And that's a real thing. That's called Swedish Death Cleaning. And it's to help your heirs not have so much crap to deal with. Lord knows I got a lot of crap. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm doing maintenance that I've deferred over the years, trying to make it not so onerous when we're gone and the kids have to deal with this property and all these issues. So I might have invented the term, but it needed to be done. So one by one, I'm taking on these projects so that the little ones won't have to. One came out. I think the door should come apart now. That's a door panel. Okay, we got that one more to go. The door is 100% apart. There are no broken parts. There's worn joints. If I go back with epoxy, which is kind of a no-no, but if you want to save a door, you need to save a door. Yeah, this is kind of amazing. I wonder how old this dang door is. So I've done all the easy scraping. I say easy, I worked pretty hard. But what's left doesn't want to scrape. I'm going to try a paint stripper. Because I have some and it's getting old. I need to use it up. Kind of in the sun here, it's not ideal. Actually, I'm going to move. I'm going to move and get out of the sun. Just going to dry this stuff up before it has a chance to do its thing. So paint stripper's doing fine. I'm in the sun again. I moved once. So I just, you know, like everybody does, you just paint it on there, give it a little bit. I never stay long enough. And you're supposed to cover it with plastic. I don't usually do that. Then I scrape it and get a bunch of globs of white muck and I put it in the garbage. And when I'm done, I dump sawdust on top and just scrub it down with sawdust. And this picks up all the sticky, all the liquid, and it smooths surface out some too. So I think I'm almost done. I got to get those edges, and I got to get this little panel. And I think the other side of this one is done. Yeah, this one's done. Just covered myself with sawdust. And the other side of this one is done. So yeah, almost done. I just got the stuff on me. I don't know if you watched the last couple of videos, or a few videos back where I criticized the Bosch sander for not collecting dust. So I changed it in, and this is a Makita, and this is the dust bag. And I want you to see, it is like the dust collection on the Makita really works. Okay, first couple of boards sanded, and I'm sanding with 60 grit. I'm just trying to get the dirt, and I think this is old varnish. It comes off really easy. Get them, they'll be painted, so they don't have to be. I'm not going to sand them any more than 60 grit. That'll make the paint stick better. I'm pretty sure these must have been economy door, an economy door. These old doors in South Louisiana were usually made of the most beautiful cypress, straight grain, tight grain, no knots. You know, I've stripped way too many of these things. I don't think I've ever seen big knots in millwork like this. And then this is the top style, a rail, and the bottom is plowed for the panel to fit in, and the top had a plow in it. So, you know, how does that work? I think they just picked up a board off the floor. Maybe it was made for something and didn't work out, and they used it for the top rail. So yeah, I think this must have been an economy door for an economy market. But anyway, they're sanding up pretty quick, and it's a beautiful morning. It's cool. Got my box fan right here giving me fresh air. And we're gonna keep on sanding. Okay, been a few days. I'm back on the door project. My epoxy glue is supposed to be delivered today. This is one side of the door. it needs basically nothing. I got some little holes to patch. This is the center part of the door. It needs nothing. This is one of the panels. It's split. I'll need to glue it together, put some clamps on it. This is the other panel. It's got a little split, but it's still pretty sound. This is the other side, and structurally it's fine, but I cut some patches to put in here where there was some sort of lock. Waiting on glue. Now the top and the bottom. Let's see which one's which. This is the bottom, and part of the tongue, part of the tenon is split, probably from me not realizing about the pins, and I split it off. Now I could glue a little piece right here, but it really would have no strength whatsoever. So what I think I'll do is plow it all the way with the table saw and glue in a long piece. Then I can have continuity. And except there's a nail right there, but I'll probably hit it. So that's the bottom. So it needs a little repair, and the top, not so much. I think it's pretty good, except they had this plow joint in the top, which is probably not good for rain, because it'll just get in there and sit. So I'm gonna clean that up, make a clean joint with the table saw, and glue in a spline. And I think this might be broken. Like this should have been a 1/4 inch wider. So maybe I'll do the same thing. Maybe I'll rip the whole thing out. I don't know, this one's stepped down too. Maybe I won't mess with this. I don't know, but this is broken. This needs to have a little glue. So anyway, very minor repairs on a door that's very old. It's amazing. And it had never had any glue on the glue joints. It was always wedged and pegged, and it held it together all these years. It's kind of amazing. I'm gonna get ready to do some woodworking. All right, this is the top piece of the door. I plowed out the joint that was already there just to kind of clean the edges and get a clean edge on the bottom. And I glued in a piece that was over tall and over length. And after I glued it in, tapped it in, I cut it flush with the table saw. I trimmed the ends with the little hand saw. And now it's got a bad split on the other side. Goes pretty far, but I'm gonna wait for my epoxy glue for that, because that's kind of structural. I use yellow glue on this because it's really not structural. It's just to keep the rainwater from collecting on the top. So this is the top of the bottom, and I got it plowed out, and I got a strip for it. Happens to be teak. I don't know where this came from, but it was about the right size. Now this is somewhat structural, and it also is a little bit of a loose fit. Yellow glue is not a good gap filling material, so I'm gonna hold off on gluing this until my epoxy comes today. And yeah, I think I might can get this door together today. It doesn't like very much. No, I gotta glue the panels, and I wanna use epoxy, so it won't go together today, maybe tomorrow. Okay, epoxy showed up yesterday. I tell you, Amazon has people spoiled like me. If I don't get it the next day or 2 days, I'm like, what's wrong with these people? Anyway, this took almost 2 weeks, so I got a little epoxy mixed up. I'm gonna try to seal these cracks up as best I can. I got some plastic under it so it won't stick. This crack's way worse, and I'll clamp it a little bit. It's gonna be ugly, but I'm gonna sand it and paint it at the end. So once again, the door project is gonna get put on hold because I need to clean up the concrete mess up front because it's gonna rain this afternoon. So I'm gonna take these clamps off. This was the patch on the other side, and take these clamps off the door panel. The door panel is glued up, and this is where I plowed out this joint and raised the spline a little bit. So let's put this to the side and go work outside. So my door is back together. It's dry. It did not want to pull up tight without clamps. Like, I don't know whether these are too tight or too wide. Maybe this grew a little bit. I don't know. The clamps are pretty tight. I'm not comfortable with that, and it's still out of square. And I need to knock this down to fill up that gap. Let me knock this down and let's see what that'll do to the out of square issue. So I pulled on it with the strap a little bit diagonally, and I can almost get it square. Man, I'm having to pull on it real hard, and I'm not comfortable with that. This thing should go together much easier than it's going together. So I'm gonna take it apart. I'm gonna trim this panel because I'm pretty sure this panel has grown a little bit, at least on that end. maybe trim a 1/16 off each side. And then another thing that's happening is I got a crack here, and I got a crack on the other end. So I might even trim a little bit off the end of these 2 panels. It's never good to have all this tension in a door before you let go of it with the clamps, because then you're putting an awful lot of tension on the glue before you even put any age or wear and tear on it. So try to get it to fit up a little better than it's fitting right now. So this panel, and this is the good panel, it grows. This is 11 and like 5/16, and this is 11 and 9/16. Is that right? Yeah, 11 and 9/16. So it's grown like almost 1/4 of an inch on this end where this crack is opened up. So that may be the problem with this one and the other one. So I'm gonna cut this one so it's a uniform 11 and 5/16, and I'm gonna cut the other one also. Okay, door's together and it's square, but it's still kind of tight. And I'm thinking these panels are never gonna be as dry as they are right now. So I'll put them out here, even though I put a lot of paint on them and paint them well. It'll be right in the weather. So I think I'm gonna take it apart and put it together without the panels and see if it goes together much easier. If it does, I'm gonna trim the panels again. I don't want the panels to be in there so tight that I gotta clamp it hard to get it together. Okay, yesterday, first of all, I realized that my 2 verticals were not the same length. So I stacked them on top of each other, and I tried to line up the mortises, but they weren't exactly the same width. Anyway, so I chopped both ends of them. So now both ends are square and they're the same length. Now, so that's gonna cause me to have to rip this bottom because it's shorter. That's okay. And then I took the panels out and put the door together, and everything fits hunky-dory. I mean, I don't even have clamps on it. Everything fits tight. So the problem was obviously the panels are too big. Now, how does that happen? I don't know, because right now they're as dry as they're ever going to be. They've been inside I've been messing with this for a month probably. So I'm going to cut the panels smaller. I'm going to have to take some measurements and cut them smaller. And when I cut them smaller, they're going to get thicker around the edges because of this bevel. Because of this bevel right here, if I cut much off, it's going to get thicker. So I need to check and make sure it's not too thick and it doesn't split the door when I put it back together. So anyway, it's nice to know what's going on, and it's something I can fix. So we're going to get onto that. But first I got to fix my wife's lamp, which quit working, and clean up some more mess from the concrete pour. So yeah, lots of home projects right now. All right, I got a random stick here. This happens to be teak, so this is a fancy random stick, an expensive random stick. And I reduced the end of it so it can go all the way in there until it hits. So it's hitting on that end. I'll put a temporary support because I'm holding the camera with one hand, so I only have one hand. And with the tape, with the flexible ruler stuck into that joint, I think I could cut them 20 3/4 and have a little bit of crack. So let me go over to the panels themselves. And I've already done this, so I'm just kind of reenacting this. Put that straight on that end, like that. And go 20 3/4. Like that. The panel was a little long. It was probably almost exactly, and that doesn't account for any bumps that might be in the groove or anything like that. So I need to cut off this much. That should give me an 1/8 plus of clearance, and that'll take care of the length problem. We'll do something similar with the width problem. So on the end where I cut some off, that makes it a little thicker. So I just checked it on my frame here, and it goes all the way in. It was a little snug. I just sanded it a little bit with some 100 grit paper, and now it's in good shape. Now we need to check the widths and see. I know I have to rip some off. I don't know how much. Well, I grabbed 2 little strips from the scrap pile, from the kindling pile, and if I put one in that groove, and I put the other one in the other groove, and let them overlap. This is hard to do with one hand. I'm gonna put a pencil mark right there. Three of the ends was exactly that pencil mark, and one of them was a little bit wider, which was that pencil mark. So if the panels are smaller than that pencil mark, they should fit. And if I look at the panels, line this over here and line this over here, the panels I've checked both ends of both of them. They should have clearance. I don't quite understand why they're so tight, but now that I have the length of them corrected, I'm gonna put it back together one more time and see what it looks like. One problem that I was having, this tenon protrudes a little bit, so I wasn't really putting the clamp pressure in the right spot. So anyway, let's put it back together and see what it looks like. Finally it fits together. A little bit of clamping pressure, but not too much, and everything fits pretty good. The panel is loose on that far corner. Can you see that? Because the opposite side of the groove is split, so it's loose, but when I glue it, I'll flip it over and clamp that back tight. I hope the panels are not too snug, but this is it. I'm gonna glue it together. I'm gonna mix up some epoxy. So I just realized something that's pretty obvious. I think the door used to be like 6-8 inches taller, and somebody cut it. It wasn't me, because these tenons should have been encased and not sticking out the bottom of the door, and that's probably when the door lost its strength. Another reason you can tell is the peg hole falls right on the bottom of the door. It doesn't fall in. Yeah, so that's where things started going south. That was pre-me. Okay, and we start the glue up dance. First I have unthickened epoxy, and I'm making an effort to get all the surfaces coated with the unthickened, because it's going to soak in pretty fast because this stuff's pretty dry. And then I mixed another batch of epoxy, but I put some thickener in it so it wouldn't run, to make it more putty-like. With the thickened epoxy, I tried to brush, it didn't really work. I'm just using a stick to get down there and try to plaster the inside of these mortises. The tenons are easy, obviously, they're right there. So thickened epoxy all the way around. The good thing about epoxy, it doesn't set fast, so there's no reason for me to rush, even though I've been rushing since the day I was born. Sometimes I have to slow myself down. Having one style clamp to the sawhorses just makes everything a lot easier, because it's just less squirmy. And the blue tape is covering the holes from where the pegs were, and that's to keep the epoxy from running all over the place. And then start putting it together. Like I say, if I was under a time crunch, I'd be wigging out, but epoxy's slow setting, so just got everything fitting, and really I didn't have any trouble to speak of. I did drop the top rail, fell on the floor, and it split part of the tenon, which is really a bummer, because that's where the strength is going to come from. But by that time all of this epoxy was glued, so I really didn't have much of a choice but to just keep on plugging. This goes there, extra glue. Now I put a clamp on where the tenon goes into the mortise, because these are big areas and the wood's fairly thin and fairly soft, so it's real easy to press them together and get just a better fit. You can tell by when the way the epoxy comes squishing out when I tighten the clamp up. So I got the 2-bar clamps and the 4 corners clamped, and then we're going to flip it over. I still need to deal with that split that I haven't dealt with yet. So flipped it over, wasn't too unwieldy. The door itself is fairly light. And I got a screwdriver and kind of pried it open and tried to get some epoxy up in there, some thickened epoxy. I don't have any of the unthickened mixed up. It's, all I have is the thickened, so I just use my finger. And squish it up in there real good, and then I put a piece of plastic over it, and I found a block of wood I could put over it, and I clamped it. And then that was it. The door is built, clamped, glued. No turning back now. Okay, new day. The door is glued and the glue is set. Well, I'm saying that. Yeah, the glue has set. I'm gonna take the clamps off, do a little sanding, and see what we got. And to complicate matters, I started a new project. I glued these two boards up yesterday, but we'll get into that later. Okay, the door is great. Just needs, I need to sand the epoxy down so I can put a coat of paint on it. I need to plug the old dowel holes. They're not required anymore. I'll probably just put some caulk or something in them. I need to put something where the old wedges were. I probably could have done that yesterday while the epoxy was wet, but I had my hands full. And then flip it over and do the other side. We'll get a coat. Oh, I got to cut the bottom. Just in a straight line, I got it marked. It's just a little too early to run the skill saw. And it'll be painted today. Okay, sanding took like 5 minutes. This stuff is so hard and brittle, epoxy, that it sands really easy. This patch that was so dark, it's cypress. It's the same kind of wood as this. It's just, I think it was probably sinker cypress. It was probably under the ground for a while and got a stain on it. So yeah, still need to patch some holes. I'm gonna do that after I prime. I'm not sure why. It just seems like the painter's putty will stick better to primer than to raw wood. So we're gonna prime. So it's been about an hour. The paint is more or less dry. So I went along and did a little bit of puttying just with some latex caulk. Like I filled the nail holes, or not the nail holes. I filled the old dowel holes. I did a little caulk on the side, just where there was cracks that the paint wouldn't span, and there weren't many of them. So now I'm gonna touch those up with some paint, flip the door over, and put a coat on the other side, which I haven't done yet. So with both sides of the door primed, caulked, and the caulk primed, I'm ready to paint. And these are the 4 cans of oil-based exterior paint I have. The black I purchased, from the Home Depot new. The other 3 cans are what's left of, I bought about 8 cans of oil-based exterior enamel at, they call it the Restore here. It's where builders donate used stuff or leftover stuff, and it's sold for, a good cause. Anyway, this dark red is what I painted the last door with, and I like it, but I don't have enough. This bright red is porch deck. Who in the world wanted that color for? Boy, obviously nobody wanted that color for a porch. So I want to mellow down that bright red, and I'm going to use the green. I'm going to dump a bunch of green in there and stir it up and see what I get. And then I need to use the that can, because the dark red can doesn't seal anymore. So my paint's going to go bad. Okay, I put some green in with the bright red, and I got this color, it's almost purpley. I don't like it. So I'm gonna dump this with this and kind of mix them back and forth and see what that does. All right, I got it. This is almost a full can of, I don't know what you'd call this, reddish brown. It's got a purple tint to it. I think it's kind of cool, and it's a door that nobody sees, so it doesn't matter. And I have enough for 2 full coats if I need it. All right, turn the phone off so I don't get paint on my phone. Okay, first coat on the door is going to definitely take 2 coats. It's oil-based, so it dries a little slower than the latex. Well, a lot slower than the latex. And it's very humid today, cloudy. I'm just hoping it'll dry enough so I can flip it and put a coat on the other side today. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. A little progress. Second coat on this side yesterday, and it's dry. I'm gonna flip it over and put a final coat, and when it dries, we're gonna hang the door back up. And I'm gonna put my beloved Zeus bike for sale on the market today. I bought this brand new in 1972, so that's 52 years ago. I've ridden it tens of thousands of miles. But these road bikes is just not comfortable for me anymore. I'm just too old. Maybe somebody will get it that can appreciate it for what it is. It was a very expensive bike when I bought it. My parents would have rolled over in their graves if they'd have known how much I paid for it in 1972. Okay, the door is in the hole. I got it wedged where I want it. I'll put the hinges back on. I'm used to these hinges that came off of it. They look horrible, but they're actually bronze hinges from a boat. They're actually probably better than anything I can buy at Home Depot. And the screws are also bronze. That's why they all came out so easy. So I'm gonna put them right back on there. Face mounted. I can't see any reason why I should go to the trouble to mortise them into the edge of the door. And then we just need to put some sort of latch on the inside. And this project will be history. Now when I take these two clamps from that little block that I glued on there, the door, or this door, will be finished. Ooh, they were tight. That one off. That one off. Ooh, we gotta keep it straight. And done. I should have done this a long time ago. It's kind of convenient having this way to get in and out the shop. And I'm gonna need a knob probably, but okay. So we'll take a picture from the outside and call this video done.